Hey y'all. So just decided to try something new, and in the spirit of fun, and playfulness and chewing gum, and not being able to sleep, and processing a lot of things, and receiving a lot of insights today, journaling, purging, crying it out, getting it out, filling it out, letting it out, letting it go, all those things. And just laying in bed, thinking about things, and thought I'd just get up and speak about it instead of lay there and think about it. And so, some of these insights that I've received and been experiencing around completions and perception and acceptance, radical acceptance, and forgiveness, gratitude, amore fati. Loving one's fate as if you have chosen it, and just receiving it as a gift for me, like all the things that want to happen for me and through me and through my relationships and through the reflection of creation and my beloved being with that beloved within me, and the interconnectedness to that part of me that I am, that contains all that I am, that has space for all that I am, and also that connects me to everything that I am. Everything that I am connects me to all that is, to all my relations, through all my relationships, starting with the self and the beloved within, and the connection and that gift that God has given, to be and receive all that love through and weave, a life, a soul-made life, a being that's becoming and unbecoming, all those things, and just the fluidity of that, and the willingness to let go of my will and surrender to thy will, and in that process of letting go and grieving and allowing and letting go with love all the things that I wanted to happen, grieving the things that didn't happen, grieving the outcomes that I was attached to, grieving the old needs that weren't met, grieving the things that could have been, grieving the things that some loved ones couldn't give to me and they couldn't be for me, and the things that I couldn't give to them or be for them. Grieving all those things to make room for the new possibilities and the space of not knowing, and letting go of those attachments and those old dreams and those, old images and idealizations and projections, and gathering all the parts of me that I gave away, that I shunned, that I shrunk to protect me, and gathering them back to me, to bring them home, to be with me, before no more self-abandoning, and to be able to hold the space to be disliked, to be misunderstood, to just accept what is right now. And all the pain and the anger and the guilt and the memories and the hopes and all the stories and all the perceptions and all of the differing perspectives, that I can imagine or empathize or relate to and with, and allowing those all to be as they are and how they're gonna be, and really just making space to allow others to go on their own journey. And if they choose, their own suffering, and they want to reinforce their own beliefs, and they want to, like, reinforce that they're right and prove that they're right, and, like, go that way, like, that I should just bless them and let them be on their way. And if they may be on their way, or, through, certain parts of their journey want to share, like, in my own journey and my story, like, maybe there will be space for that, but maybe it's just something they need to take on their own, in their own ways. And just thinking and feeling that some people may not be coming with me on my next phase of my journey, and I won't be able to join them on theirs. But just making peace with that. And also realizing that, like, the reality that we're choosing for ourselves, it's something we have chosen, and it's something we're choosing to play out and to play in and participate in and contribute to and reinforce and give our energy to, our attention, our presence to, like, our own lifeblood, like our own currency that is, like, valuable. And really, like, the attention that we give things, it is, like, part of our prosperity and how we do manifest things and how we do create our reality, through the attention that we give things and the focus and, just what we enliven or we bring to life through our imagination and through our feeling and through our attention and through, like, our thoughts and our actions. It all stems from, like, the attention and the focus and the what we're choosing to be in and what we're choosing to play in and what we're choosing to play out. And so, like, if we're paying attention to that, like, it is interesting, like, to observe and watch as the observer, like, playing the story out in certain ways. It's a trip and a half. Like, to, like, be able to switch in and out of, like, different lenses and different ways of seeing and ways of being, and like, seeing multiple perspectives at the same time, and receiving, like, all of this information and all of this possibility, like, and, like, hindsight, insight, foresight, and seeing what's needed and seeing what's next and seeing, like, the path unfold before me. And so I hope the sound is on and everything. I haven't used this iPad before, so hope it works out all right. But I just wanted to say a few things. And I've been writing in my journal a lot today, and processing some things about the father wound that I, like, have put off. Like, it's like one of the things that I didn't really want to face. I avoided it, and I procrastinated, like, really looking into it and looking at it, even though it was affecting me these last couple of years. And there were certain things I didn't want to look at and certain things I didn't want to see, and until they kept triggering me, bothering me, causing me, like, pain and suffering because of unresolved conflict and conflict within myself, inner conflicts, the conflicts that I have that conflict with each other and contradict each other, and, like, not understanding, like, what I was creating and trying to resolve those conflicts. And I kind of realized the other day that because I was so attached to resolving the conflict, and I couldn't just accept that there was a conflict, that I was blocking myself from like the closure that I needed because I was so attached to getting the closure in a certain way. Yeah. With my dad, you know. And yeah, hoping that he'd come around and he might like be able to make space for my experience and my reality, and yeah, and really see me for who I am without the filters, you know, and the programmed lenses that he's used to view the world through, and yeah, not been able to like see beyond his own blind spots and his own brand of control and programming and belief system. And that was really disappointing for me, and I had like such high expectations, and I had idealized him so much that it was hard for me to make sense of what I perceived as his cruelty, and not making the space for me, not making effort, not reaching out to me. The ways that he wouldn't allow me to have a voice and the space, like to share my own feelings, my own thoughts, my own needs, my own experiences, without infantilizing me. Yeah, infantilizing me. And I was wondering like why that was and why I felt that. And yeah, the archetype of the Purella came up and showed me like a few things about, yeah, what was going on in my shadow, you know, and the father wound related to these aspects that, yeah, I disowned and I you know, idealized. It was idealization, projecting, yeah, correcting. Because, yeah, I just learned that technically in clinical psychology, projection, you can only project negative things onto another person, not positive things. But when you attribute positive qualities and strengths and different like, yeah, gifts and talents, or yeah, different things like that, that's idealization, and it's not projection, which, yeah, that was something new that I learned. Like there is a difference in this clinical language, and these terms and these concepts, yeah, are a little more, yeah, I guess in depth and involved in like, yeah, in these different ways. So it is interesting to differentiate like with these new terms, you know, like, yeah, to understand certain things a little bit better, and yeah, to be able to communicate them and articulate them in a more precise manner. So yeah, learning different things about, yeah, technicalities, but not to get lost in a tangent there, but I did like, and this is like a common thing that daughters do with their fathers, you know, they idealize them, and my dad is an awesome man, and he's one of the most, you know, kindest and gentlest and thoughtful and caring and, you know, intelligent people that I've met, and he's taught me so much, and he instilled in me and my sisters the love of reading and exploring different worlds like mythology, and he introduced me to, you know, Jung and Khalil Gibran and all these beautiful writers, philosophers, poets, and, you know, that love, you know, of love and the mystery and the esoteric, and through different exploration of different religious traditions, and the beauty found in all of them, and just like, because I've always been drawn to that, and, you know, my parents, you know, did in a certain way have that curiosity in them, and love for different cultures and different myths, and the mystery of life and all of that. And so mythology was like super special for me too, growing up. Greek myths and story time, and the Chronicles of Narnia, and C.S. Lewis, and those magical worlds, that really do spark our imagination and touch parts of our psyche and like our soul, that like do hold truths and deep wisdom for us. And so like all those things, made quite an impression and imprinted on me, like that love of the mystery, and that there is simple wisdom and truth found in stories and in these tales, and in all stories that we tell ourselves. And it's just like these little breadcrumbs to follow, and these little threads to remind us, to help us remember. And these gems, like, that unlock certain keys and certain doors within us to show us who we are and how to access, like, that inner light and that inner power and that inner knowing, and like, that knowing of ourselves, and that access that we can tap into to remember and free and be ourselves, like, and know ourselves and love ourselves and be true to ourselves and bless ourselves and respect ourselves and treat ourselves as the precious gifts and the valuable, like, priceless treasure and gift that we are for Creator, for ourselves, for each other, as the beloved, with the beloved, within the beloved, for and through and within. And so, it's just so much that we hold, and there's like just so much to unfold and unravel and unlearn and unbecome, and just be done with too. Like, we've played certain things out that I think some of us are complete with, and we are like wrapping things up and clearing things out. And some of these trials and tribulations that we've been through the last few years, in and through some of these relationships that are dear to us, and our gifts to teach us, like, where we have given our power away, where we haven't been true to ourselves, where we sold ourselves out, where we didn't feel worthy, where we were wounded, where there was toxic shame and deception, like, that influenced us to believe that we are what we are not, and to believe that that what we think we are is who we are. But that's all been a game for us to, like, forget and then remember, like, remember ourselves. And so it is interesting and funny, like, in a lot of ways, like, we're on this hide and seek, game of playing with ourselves and God and each other. And, like, going through this time of darkness, of forgetting, of not knowing, of, dismembering ourselves and feeling separate from everything, when we are, like, in quantum physics and so many other things in nature, like, show us, like, that we are fractal, and that we are all interconnected, and that we are all parts of each other, and, like, that we are one consciousness, and there is so much in the collective unconscious, like, that needs to play itself out and to, purify and reintegrate itself and remember itself. And that is through, like, the union within, that ripples outward, and then, reforming those connections, those divine connections that we do have and that we are, like, with each other and for each other, through each other, as each other, like, as ourselves. And so, just, like, seeing how to, like, bridge this reality that is true, that is the whole truth of matter, and how, like, to bring that into the ways of, new ways of being, whole new ways of being, whole and connected, and that starts from within. And so, like, a lot of people are looking out there on the screen, thinking that that is the real truth of reality, when it's so altered and it's artificial and it is scripted and acted out and played out and theater for our benefit. Like, because we're all playing these roles and play acting and pretending and putting on different shows for each other of what we think we are and what we believe we are and what we believe is happening and what we believe is the right thing to do, or whatever agendas we have, like, that ultimately run us if we're not mastering ourselves and our own minds and observing certain things. And watching our own minds, and watching our own words and observing the patterns that are playing out and that we're playing, like, with each other, and like how the patterns play out through us, because that is like energy flowing through a pattern, and that creates, like, our experience. And so we can choose to flow or through different patterns and change reality through, like, our own intention and through our own abilities, like, to match our will with the divine will and the will of love and the will of, like, that supports life and creation and unity and wholeness and remembrance, and that is, like, through, like, the joy and the authentic love coherence and just matching, like, our own frequency with, like, our own organic signature frequency. And so there's a lot of things that need to fall away, like, for us, just to be in resonance with who we actually really are. And, like, it's so, like, so much more, like, it's not just one little channel, though, like, static, it's dynamic, it's, like, because it's all of the frequencies. It's not that one is, it's like integrating all of them so that they are in harmony and all has a place and a space for, the part of the whole that it is. And so, like, bringing that all back, like, together, because everything, like, gathering all parts of ourselves and our energies and our aspects back into one whole, where all parts of the whole have their own part to play and to, like, be in resonance within that whole, like, for sacred union and for, like, that creation and that ability to create and to experience and to birth into being, like, through our own beings, like, this new way of being and this new earth, this new paradigm of, like, rebirth, and that honors all the cycles and the phases and the stages and all parts of the whole, like, in the cycles, like, that do support life and yeah, breaking some cycles and renewing like the cycles that honor life and like life's wholeness and fullness and generosity and like the spirit of like prosperity and creativity and diversity, like authenticity and embodiment, and like, yeah, coming out of like the darkness into the light of awareness and transformation of our consciousness, and seeing how everybody does have a choice, and we all do have a choice, and it's just letting go of control of like what we are attached to, like what we want to happen. We want other people to think like us and to be with us and to stay with us and to like have that stability or that solidity or that sense of security and maybe permanence is what we're after, because that's, yeah, that's what we feel is stability. But yeah, everything is temporary, and it's meant to flow like a river, and because that's, yeah, what life wants to move. We want to move, like, yeah, it wants to be in motion. It doesn't want to be stuck and stagnant and frozen, but sometimes it needs to be that way for certain processes to take place, yeah, and for certain maturing and mastery to get us to move in another direction, or, yeah, or learn, yeah, through like times of barrenness, stagnation, death, and, yeah, and refusal, like, and denial, and forgetting, and, yeah, and being in that, like, victim state or mentality, and playing in that for a little bit to see what that creates, and, well, we're giving our power away to different authorities, because we don't think we can do it on our own, or we don't trust ourselves because of certain, yeah, programmings and certain traumatic memories and implanted, yeah, beliefs and things. And so, yeah, it's just, I was feeling really disillusioned and disenchanted and disappointed because it seems like, this is what it looks like to me, that a lot of people are so on their high horses of, do-gooder and justice and activism in certain ways, but it is like still a program, and it's like it convinces them that, yeah, their way is the one right way, and it traps them in an echo chamber that they've chosen, and they get fed from a lot of different channels, or a seemingly separate and unrelated voices that share the same views, the same thoughts, the same phrases, the same scripts, the same agendas, but it may look a little bit diverse because of, like, yeah, the different forms that it comes in, but it's the same programming and is the thing, but it makes it look like diversity. And then when you come out of that echo chamber and you hear anything different, it's like the Tower of Babel. And it's like, yeah, the other person's from Neptune, or, yeah, from some other star system or dimension. And so it's like they don't even realize that they're in this echo chamber of just like these, officially prescribed swim lanes that you can swim in that are acceptable. And it's funny because they think they're really, really super vast, but they're very narrow when it comes down to it. And the discussion sometimes can get a little lively, to make it seem like, yeah, there's certain things on the fringe ends of the spectrum that are being addressed or being looked at, you know. But it's very superficial and very surface, yeah. So, not really deep, and just got the illusion of that depth, though, is the thing. And yeah, it is kind of deceptive in a lot of ways. Like, yeah, these echo chambers, and then like this concentration, yeah, of like one right way to be. And it's really interesting, like the dynamics at play, where there is no space for any other possibility when we don't even realize we're in these echo chambers, or that we're being manipulated, and that our behavior is being modified and programmed in real time by like the hive mind and its handlers, you know, by the media that people give their trust. Yeah, they trust in the media, and they give their faith and their loyalty to, and their power, and the parties, the ideologies, the tribal system that appears a certain way. Yeah, and it makes the other side appear like in a prescribed way. Certain images and certain scripts and little, I guess you could call them like little sketches and little skits are played out, just like in Rome when they were doing like their puppeteering and their little puppet shows. To like, there's all different forms of propaganda, and it's just silly that we don't realize like how it's all around us, every form of it, and like to reinforce and keep like the momentum going of these thought forms and of these systems, like through our attention, through like the way that they know how to modify emotions and moods, and like know exactly what to, like the algorithm knows exactly what to put in the feed to like keep you hooked, baited, and thinking what it wants you to think. And you think it's your own original thinking and your own original thoughts, but they're not. They're all related to the power of suggestion and what you want to believe, so what you're willing to follow and reinforce for yourself to feel, your own like sense of security, safety, congruence with reality, your own version, your own story, but is it your own story? It's the story you've chosen, but is it yours? So really, if you're looking outside and you're getting all of your information and all of the images and all of those scripts and narratives from the outside, it definitely isn't your story. It's someone else's story that wants you to believe it's your story, and it's a story that uses you to play itself out, and are you aware that you're choosing that, and allowing that story to play through you? If you're not the author of your own story, you're not the authority. If you're giving your authority and your authorship away, in this play, you are being played. And, you don't even know that you're playing the game. Maybe, maybe you do, though, in certain ways. And so it's just in this game, too, how could there not be other, unknown factors, unseen, levels, unseen players, unseen people, puppeteers pulling strings, and creating, the illusion like in the cave, like Plato's allegory of the cave, all the shadows that, are being projected onto the cave wall, and then there's descriptions with them, like, yeah, but what else is there? What else are we not seeing? Yeah, and the manipulation, and then the chosen, like, comfort of the familiar, and, like, yeah, all the attachments that we do have and the agendas that we do have that we've been given to reinforce our own stories and our attachment to them. Yeah, it's just interesting that I can't talk about these things with my dad because he won't understand what I'm saying. And it's like everybody else that isn't drinking their Kool-Aid or part of their programming following that is wrong, delusional, part of the problem, or marked as other, and yeah, not going along to get along. And so it is like, it's felt very rigid and very impossible to reach them in any certain capacity when it comes to certain things, because what they have been plugged into affects and colors everything else that they see. And so it's like, yeah, trying to find common ground and build certain bridges and just share love in simple ways and in the ways, yeah, that are, easy, authentic, or just available, like to be shared, maybe offered and received, and like surrendered and given back and blessed, like for what they are and for what they could be, and yeah, for what is yet to be seen, and so, like, yeah, letting go of expectations and the idealization and the old self, integrating, yeah, the child that wasn't heard, the child that wasn't seen, the child that wasn't believed, the child that wasn't taken seriously, even though she could see certain things, and but it made people uncomfortable, and there wasn't any explanations or, like, yeah, safe way to accept certain things that were out of our control, that are not, like, very easy to accept, because, yeah, it is the wild, wild west in the spirit world, like, seriously. And, yeah, sometimes we're afraid of things we don't understand. And so we don't want to acknowledge, yeah, and we want to explain and kind of name everything so that we feel like we have a handle on them, or that we do understand them. But then, like, when something doesn't fit into that paradigm, it's either dismissed and it can't be received or absorbed or taken in because it doesn't match with the pre-existing structure, or the belief, the foundation, of our belief system cannot hold it, and therefore it cannot be accepted and integrated into, like, our experience, or like into our consciousness. And so it gets dumped in the shadow, and like, can kind of cause some problems and make some mischief there, like, for us, until we wake up to it, or like until we start to notice, like, certain things, and slowly, like, because seeds are planted and they do they grow. It depends on what we're watering too, because we can water some pretty terrible seeds we don't want, but, like, we've been trained to do that. So and we haven't been able to see, like, how how we've created things through our own resistance, like, and through manipulation, and like, in spite of our efforts, like, and then, I mean, like, some things are created because of our efforts, like, to be against something. It is so funny, like, because there is an imbalance there, and it's just like, the more we try and suppress or squash or cut away something, it comes back in another form, in another way, like, to teach us, like, and so if it's not integrated or honored or recognized, like, in its proper form and ways, like, it does cause havoc for us, and like, it can throw us off, like, our own way. So it is interesting, like, clinging to control and being attached to, like, certain things we think we know, and wanting, like, or desiring to make the other see it our way because they have to, because we're right, that's like so dishonoring, and like, it's not allowing, and it's not inclusive, and it's not curious, and it doesn't allow space for the mystery and for other possibilities, and for everyone to have their own experience, especially right now in these days where, like, there is like some major changes and disruptive, things that need to play out, like, for like us to, like, clear out some of these old patterns and these old ways of being that no longer serve us in certain ways. And we will see, like, certain things happening simultaneously, where so much joy and goodness and things are being created, and at the same time other devastating things are happening and collapsing and falling away. And so, like, it's gonna be an interesting place and space and field to navigate, and so it all has to do with our focus and what we're choosing for ourselves, and what we're attached to, and if we're giving the internal guidance navigational system our trust and our attention, like, and centering within that, rooted in love and rooted in, like, the truth of who we are, and practicing and applying and remembering and attending to, like, that inner garden and that self that we are. And that's how we do create, is, from the inside out. In this new paradigm, it's going to happen in different ways than the old way, because the old way is actually a lot of energy wasted, actually, a lot of effort given to, like, things that really don't sometimes resonate with the soul and with, like, life's true, like, nature and integrity. And like, so it takes a lot more energy to create in those ways that dishonor life and dishonor, like, ourselves and our the true power that we do have, but we haven't, like, been conscious of that. So, but we'll start to notice a little bit more if we're, if we choose to. And everybody does that in and through their own ways. And so I just want to say, like, maybe we could all be a little more humble and let go of what we think we're so sure of and what we think we know, and maybe let go and maybe have some curiosity and be able to open to someone else's experience and reality and perceptions and perspectives and, like, internal knowings and what they have to offer and share to help us widen and develop in our own discernment and our own, like, assessment of reality and our own, like, perspectives, like, authentic perspectives, like the come from within, the true vision, rather than the false images that are fed to us. The real wealth is within the well-being, within us, that we have within us, that shows us like the true vision and like the truth of who we are, what we can envision, what we can dream in, what we can be, what we can create if we believe in ourselves and we trust and we're true to ourselves and the love that we are, and not pulled off of our center from the noise on the outside that wants to siphon our energy, that wants to run its own agenda through us. That really, like, I mean, if we want to play in that, we can keep choosing that, but we don't really have to. And I feel like, just some will have to learn for themselves, and they've chosen to learn through, like, through giving their power away, through playing in, like, in that game that they, can best learn in as a soul, like, what they've already chosen for themselves. And so just, like, instead of judging them and being angry with them for, not being enough, like, or being what I needed them to be or what I want them to be, or, like, coming along with me and, like, expanding, like, in, like, this memory and remembering, being, like, in, like, my own sovereign, like, field of being aligned in God's will and with Gaia's plans for her own expansion and evolution of consciousness, transformation, metamorphosis, awakening and embodiment, like soul, embodiment of soul, and true being, whole, remembering, and reclaiming and unnaming, renaming, mastering and respecting, honoring all that she is, all that we are, and we are part of her, and she is part of us. And so we can speak to her, we can hear her, she can, guide us through this process. She needs us, we need her, we love her, and she loves us. She holds us, and we hold her within us. And so that is the beautiful reciprocity that we do have, and we can choose, like, to access that and be aware of that and nurture that connection and grow, into who we are as we are. Like, she accepts us just as we are, and we haven't been able to do that for ourselves, and that's why we've been caught in these fear desire cycles of inferiority and superiority, and up and down on the wheel of fortune and the wheel of suffering, and at the mercy of, like, the circumstances and the situations and what's seemingly happening out there on the outer stage in the theater play. And, like, a lot of it that we let get to us is total fabrication and spun so that we spin in it, and we spin in the spin cycle. And so it's just like, well, just let them spin in the spin cycle and let them, like, have their experience. And if, like, whoever does, like, come for, like, comfort, conversation, company, sustenance, that is a match and that is an alignment. And it's like, I will gladly serve and I will love, and through, like, my own journey and through my own story, like, and bless, like, all these different travelers on their way, because we're all just walking each other home, really. But I feel like, if we want to be peaceful. It doesn't matter really what we believe. It matters how we treat other people. And we have to put down our beliefs sometimes to be curious and to build a bridge of heart coherence together to see where the other's at, because just because the other isn't enraged or in the same into the same play that we are, doesn't mean they don't care or they don't have something valuable, precious, and worthy to offer us or to share with us. To help us with our own learning and remembering in our own journey and experience. It's just dance of getting to know ourselves and forgetting ourselves and remembering ourselves and knowing and not knowing, and being one, being many, being nothing. So, and being everything. All of it and nothing and one simultaneously. A masterpiece and a work in progress. Always growing. Always discovering more of itself. And through this simulation and this funny play that we get to be in, wow, it's pretty incredible. And it's all in all of its the sacred and profane. And so just facing different fears and looking at different family patterns and seeing what I was attached to and what I couldn't let go of and what I really wanted to happen and what I felt like I needed to heal and have closure and have validation. I can let all of that go because I can give it to myself now, and I'm not expecting my dad to give it to me because I don't think he has the capacity to give that to me, to give me what I do need, what that inner child really needed and really desired and wanted. But it's, I've made peace with it, and I'm going to do my best, to keep accepting it and to forgive, myself for, self-abandoning and not owning my own power and my own, inner father, because I made peace with the mother wound and my own inner mother and all of that, many, many, many years ago, and, feeling the fruits of that, and then, just processing and coming through this, healing the father wound. Then I'll just share a few minutes of my journal before I go. So I wrote, so I idealized you, I trusted you, I gave my power to you, I wanted to please you, I wanted your approval, I wanted your love and acceptance, I wanted your understanding, I wanted your praise, I wanted your reassurance, I wanted your protection, I wanted your attention, I wanted your presence, I wanted your connection, I wanted recognition, but I did not know how to get that from you, and how to earn that, or how to receive that, and be what would secure that for me. And I underestimated your limitations and your capacity to see through your own illusions and programming, your own wounds, fears, desires, and blind spots. But why? You haven't really listened or heard me clearly the last 20 years of my life. I suppose you never really knew me. Only, an image or an overlay in your mind, maybe as another extension of yourself. But you haven't really known me or seen me as I really am. And I have been. For the person and, the one that I really have been for myself, for you, and for our family. And I have carried the burden of wanting to be the family peacemaker, but also the family challenger, and the one that rocks the boat, because we all have been avoidant in confronting things that need to be addressed and unraveled. And it is no wonder that I have felt split into two or more faces. Haha, Gemini struggles. And, just accepting that we are all light and dark, kind and cruel, good and bad, angelic and devilish. Yeah, for me and for you, for all of us, to play these parts out for each other. It's seriously funny. So I do have compassion and empathy for you and for myself, but I will no longer make excuses for poor behavior and ignorance and, no, respect for another's experience and for another to have a different, opinion, viewpoint, feeling, knowing, interpretation, and perception, perspective of, their own experience and their own reality and what they're witnessing, what they're seeing, what they're able to see. Because, we all see different things. And it just depends on sometimes what we want to see or what we believe already, because sometimes believing is seeing, and sometimes seeing is believing. So we believe what we see sometimes, and we believe what we think, but maybe we shouldn't believe, all those things sometimes. They get in our ways and blind us to things as they really are. And so, I choose non-negotiable boundaries and my core needs of self-love, self-care, self-respect, and that requires me to care for myself first and foremost, and no more without any more self-abandoning, to please and to be codependent and to caregive. I'm not a martyr, and I will rebuke that role along with the scapegoat and the defiant rebel, the invisible child. I let go of the shame-based identities that I've carried and that I agreed to carry for the family, and I still feel, some anger there. And I have that's what finally got me to sit down and just see, because it was lingering anger and frustration and resentment, and it's just okay, I don't want to feel this forever, and I've felt it for so long, the last couple years. It's it really is time to transform it into something else that I can use, instead of letting it consume me and burn me from the inside. It's just it doesn't, I want to do something productive and positive with it, and so let it move me into a direction where I can care for myself and create something. So I'm done, carrying this guilt for feeling that, for that rage, for feeling that rage. And please and thank you, I surrender that all this bullshit that I've carried for way too long and mistaken for an identity. I know I am love. I know I am loved. I know that I am love. I am divine love. I am one with the beloved. I know that I am, that I am, that I am. I claim that I know that I am, that I am. Letting go of the fear of not belonging, not enoughness, needing to please, needing to be perfect, needing to be right, needing to be liked, needing to be good, needing to be accepted, and needing to feel safe. If that means abandoning myself and my needs, my authenticity, my feelings, my dreams, and my true being, my true well-being, I can let all that go and know that I am responsible and I'll be accountable and I will ask for what I need and develop relationships with those that are emotionally available and on the same wavelength and taking care of themselves and honoring themselves, in those honoring ways. And one of the, incongruent and confusing elements in the family dynamics, there's this love present for one another. Yeah, we do have love for each other, but there is certain walls that prevent vulnerability and the ability to really be present and vulnerable. And so to be able to confront some of the disconnect and the valid issues and the imbalances and the toxic patterns in the family that have been playing out, and to even bring those up, and to say this is what I've been seeing without like some kind of defensive, knee-jerk, reactive, like power struggle, and so it's interesting, but authenticity like is hindered because of not this unaddressed and underlying fears of abandonment, shame, guilt, denial, and avoidance. Avoidant attachment and disorganized attachment styles, and some certain passive-aggressive behavior, and a lot of different projections, and a lot of blind spots, and a lot of shadow stuff that hasn't been processed or owned or looked at or attended to, that keeps like certain things in a vicious cycle and the drama triangle, the dynamics. And so just looking into all those things, and it was funny that after I'd written like some of these things about power struggles and push and pull dynamics, disorganized attachment, shame-based identities, false peace and false safety, dysregulation and addictions, low self-worth and self-esteem, lack of introspection and accountability, split personalities, false perfectionism, inability to address and confront toxic patterns, and persecution complex, covert and overt abuse, like emotional abuse and other kinds of abuse, like that are controlling, that stem from a need to control that's unconscious in a lot of ways, so there's interesting things at play there, and unprocessed rage and destructive tendencies in certain ways, because of the saboteur and like the shadow at play, and just kind of looking at those things and wanting to make space, and I did think like in certain ways it is ironic that like my dad does hold a religious transition group for those who have left like their belief system and from the Mormon church and need a support group, because they're it is like a death in the family or a death of the self when one loses like something that is like the center of their entire world. It's their structure, it's their foundation, and if that is like no longer there to hold them, like obviously when rebuilding or deconstructing and then rebuilding, like it's good to have like people who have gone through that or people that are going through it, and like to be able to share that experience and that grief and that like that time of transition from what because you're no longer what you were, but you're not yet what you're going to become. And so in this transition of like between the life and death and the rebirth process, it is interesting, like the changes that we go through, and like the different things that we open up to when we do leave an old belief system behind that we've outgrown, and we're like open and vulnerable at that time, like and raw, but also like very exposed to absorb like something else, or maybe a different version of the same program. But it's interesting now, like it's an interesting experience to go through those things, and to transition from one belief system into another, or to be open to like what is interesting or what we're curious about, or the questions that we have like can lead us like to new discoveries and new adventures, and those new stories. And so I felt like because he helps people transition from one belief to their next phase, or to their next step, or their next chapter of their own story, of their life story, because he understands like how to do that beautifully and support people through that process. I felt like maybe he might understand like me leaving like the pre-existing acceptable official belief system that, looks like it's very prevalent and a lot of people hold it, and the things that happen, like when you leave that belief system, like your old friends that are still in that belief system, they kind of, because you're not a part of the herd anymore, either look down on you or want to reconvert you, or can't accept you anymore because you don't share that dogma and playbook, rule book with them any longer. And it's like they don't understand because it still works for them and all those things. And they might treat you differently or ostracize you, or you might feel exiled or cut off or excommunicated in a way, And so it's that's what I feel like I'm experiencing too, is losing my religion. Even though I've been out of it for a long time, I've just never felt so excluded and treated differently because I'm not a part of it. Because I'm not in that, what's become a fanatical, culty belief system, with tyrannical viewpoints. If you don't agree, you're delusional, you're wrong, you're the enemy, you're the other, you're psychologically othered, you're blamed for all of the things that they're seeing that are going wrong because you're not doing anything about it, or you're not listening and you're not hearing. But it's it's so weird because they're actually projecting so much and they can't see the hypocrisy and their own blind spots at play, and how they're creating their own suffering and projecting their own stuff onto others, but they're not owning it for themselves and really going within and looking at and taking that introspection and reflection. It's been disappointing, to see that, the refusal to actually, do a little more deep digging and questioning themselves and their own beliefs and their own motives and agendas and the payoffs that they get and the incentives that they get to reinforce and to keep pounding. And they just don't see the more that they do push, that there is pushback, and then it does create exactly what they hate. And so they're trapped in that vicious cycle of us versus them, and they will be until they see it the way that they need to for themselves. How they're locked into a power struggle and they're against themselves, really. So it is I against I in a lot of ways when we're trapped in that us versus them mentality, no matter how convincing and righteous we think we are in our desire to do good. Sometimes the road to hell is paved with the best intentions, and we are creating exactly the things that we are rebelling against. And so it is kind of humorous and funny and ironic in so many ways. And it's just wow, because my dad could hold space for others in their transitional movement, and he could be compassionate and understanding with them. I just felt maybe he could be compassionate and understanding and loving and accepting of me, where I am, and we could maybe share things that do hold common ground and heart space together to, it's there's a field between, what is it, right and wrong. I will meet you there. It's a Rumi quote, so that we don't have to make the other wrong so that we can be right. It's actually, in that tale of Ishu, the double-sided hat, because you're being shown one side doesn't mean that you're wrong for seeing that side, but there's a whole other side to it, and it's a whole story, not just one-sided story. And so it's just why are we treating our friends and our family members that see differently, or see another side of the story, or maybe even beyond the story? Why do we treat them with disdain and contempt and hostility? Because we want them to be a certain way, so we're actually enacting, we're playing out that tyrant for others that don't believe the things that we believe, but we feel justified in doing that, and justified in our split of ourselves, and justifying splitting the other person as all right or all wrong. And then, yeah, idealizing our own side, and it doesn't match like what really is too, and projecting all the negative shit onto the other side, and that doesn't match what really is either. And so we've been telling ourselves stories, and we've been lost in the story, and not realizing we're playing out, this grand story with many, many different stories that will, like play out how they need to. But I feel like, if we really wanted to connect and be curious and be kind and be humble and know that we don't know everything, even though we like to think that we do know, we just get in our own way of really seeing and really being, who we really are, by getting trapped in the story of who we think we are and what we think is real, true, right. So, just wanted to offer some of those insights. So, I feel complete, and it's, feel like I've gotten like some of the closure that I needed by just accepting that I wouldn't get it, that I wasn't going to get it in the way that I wanted to get it, and that I felt like I needed to get it. And just allowing it to to be as it is, like without the closure, actually like releasing the need to have closure actually helped me receive some closure. So how funny is that? And trickster energy been at play for reals to transform the poison into nectar, and the pain into joy, and the venom into the antidote. So, isn't that awesome? And I'll take that, and I'll receive that, and I'll welcome that, and I'll invite that, and I'll extend the invitation to receive and create and choose that, like, to anyone who desires freedom and authenticity, and just going beyond like the story and writing our own stories, our new stories, the true stories, the whole stories, like that honor who we really are, and to live in love and to embody that love, and to create and to nurture and to seed and plant and water and attend to all that love with our attention and our focus, and develop, that relationship with the love that we really are, through the love we are, in the love, for love. And so, with that, with love, love your way, love always. Be love for yourself through all your ways. See you later. Bye for now.